I think I'm all by myself right now. Is anybody planning to join? Hopefully, for our Throwback Thursday this week. Hello. How are you, Kim? Missing you, Rumi, from last week. Just wait a few more minutes to see if anybody else pops on. So yes, I had not decided, excuse me for a moment, I had not decided this morning what we were going to do yet. I knew the stamp set, but as far as medium, I hadn't quite decided, so I went with watercolors. Hello, Michelle. How are you? I feel like I'm not back to normal and I have to go back to work tomorrow. I luckily had my 5 off, like starting the day when we came back, because I would have come off my set that Sunday morning. But I don't know, these days flew by and now I got to go back to work tomorrow, and now I'm all mad again. So we'll just hang out for a few minutes. We're going to work with Snowball Fight tonight, which was originally released, I'm looking back, in November of 2022. Excuse me. You guys will have to pardon me. I've got a bit of a cough from a cold I had a couple weeks ago, and it inevitably, my asthma flares up something fierce for a couple of weeks after a cold, and I get really short of breath and just this dry little tickle in my throat. So I've got a cup of coffee right now to start me off, and hopefully it's not gonna be too bad. So I guess we will get started. I didn't really prep much ahead of time other than just getting my watercolor paper ready. One more sip of coffee here. Alrighty. And I also just wolfed down a sandwich. I finished it like 2 minutes before I had to pop on live here, because Dean and I got doing some errands, and anyways, I'll fill you in later, but we were out a lot longer than we had planned, and then I had to drop by my daughter's for something, and then I got home and I had like some stuff set up, but I had to finish getting set up, so it's been a little bit of a rush. So I'm just going to move this out of the way here. And as I said, we're going to work with Snowball Fight, which is a really fun set. I love this set. And I have used all of these, even though it looks like I haven't inked these guys up too much. I think probably because I've done no lines with these guys and used black ink with these ones here. But I figured we'd make a little scene. I'm going to stamp with our Totally Taupe ink, which is one of my favorite colors. It is my favorite color for doing no lines coloring. And when I'm doing like a winter scene, I don't know, I just want to go no lines. And I've got my watercolor paper here ready to go, which is Arches cold press paper. You can use any watercolor paper that you've got. I do recommend 100% cotton paper. I'm going to zoom in a little bit here, just so that I can kind of adjust where I've got my camera. All right. Sorry, a little bit of movement here. Hopefully I don't knock anything down. And let me see how that is there. I think that might, excuse me. Oh, might be about where I need it. I'll adjust as I go along there. I am happy though to have the landscape mode in. So finally, thankfully, I downloaded that app that Heather had filled me in on, rather than trying to go portrait, because that's just super annoying. So like I said, I've got my watercolor paper here. I've taped the edges off with painter's tape just before I started here. You don't have to do this, but it does give a nice border when you're done painting. So just let me move this over just a touch here. We'll see how that goes. I might have to maneuver that a little bit. But we're going to build a little scene here. What I figured we'd do is have like a little bit of a hilly landscape in the background with some snow hills. Maybe just do a blue for the sky, maybe just paint in the hint of some trees in the background. I mean, it's actually pretty much the same as a lot of the snowy scenes that I've done before, but it's kind of fun. And it's easy, so, and you'll see how easy it is. So what I thought we'd do, I was trying to find, because I know I've done scenes with this set before, but can't find it. So hopefully I don't end up doing the exact same thing that I have done previously with this set. But we shall see. Is that going to work? I've got a wider piece of tape there. Yes, it will. Okay, so let's, oh yes, and I should say going with an A2 size card. So I've gone down about 1/4 of an inch on either side, so that way I can do like an eighth inch mat around the border before putting it on my white card base. But you guys can do whatever size you want. So as far I know for sure I've done one where I've done like the little bunny and the little bird here, and they're so funny. I love these characters. And I think the fox I had done before. I know I've done one with the raccoon too, so I don't know. Maybe I did. Oh, actually, no, that was Skating Friends. Actually, I think it was combo. Just one moment, because I can see a card that I did before with, no, it was the Skating Friends. Never mind. I thought it was the Snowball Fight. I was wrong, because I did a platform card, but I thought I did one with these ones too. Hello, Ellie. Oh, thank you, Deb. They all kind of look the same to me, because it's kind of easy trees and a sky. But like I said, I want to show you guys like watercolor. It's not hard to create, you know, a background, and fairly quickly too. So I'm thinking, I know I've done these little guys in the background before too, and like some people or some of the characters having a snowball fight up front. I just remembered what I don't have. I don't have any paper towels up here. One moment, I'm going to ask my husband to go grab me some. Hey, Dean, can you do me a favor? Because I started my video already. Can you go down and grab me a roll of paper towels? Please and thank you. Okay, he's going to bring that up for, I knew there was something else I had to grab before I started. But anyways, let's see. I'm thinking I'm kind of feeling the raccoon tonight. I'd like to do him. And I'm just thinking here. I mean, the bunny's fun as well, because he's just laughing, having fun in a pile of snow there. So I probably should have made my decision before. I wasn't going to do the building a snowman characters here, but I guess I could do the fox and the raccoon, because they're kind of both poised with snowballs there. Just a second, I'm going to grab this from Dean here. Thank you. All right. Get that ready to go. So, yeah, maybe we'll do that. So let's get our raccoon out, and we'll place him, and then I'll grab the fox. Sorry, I'm just getting a notification on my tablet here about updating something, and I'm like, not right now. So, it's true, actually. That's clever, Michelle, the snowballs. Because, yeah, I mean, there is this one snowball that's kind of midair, which I know I've used before with these guys. But I think I'll just keep them with the snowballs that they've got in their hands already, and I might do that raccoon just a slight bit higher up than the fox. So I think that'll be okay placement there. I don't know if everybody here always uses a stamp platform. I mean, I do. I don't know how I stamped without one before, to be honest. I can remember years like when we were early in the company and prepping for one of our very first in-person retreats, I think, and just trying to prep all my stuff ahead of time and the stress of trying to get that impression when you were just using a block. I'm hoping I don't have black ink left over. If we do, then they won't fully be no lines here. But I did clean them the last time I used them. Sometimes there's a bit of residue. Nope, it's not showing up. So, but anyways, just the stress of trying to get a proper image in one pass and how many times I had to redo it. So like once I got a stamping platform, I just thought that that was like the bee's knees. I'm going to take one more pass here, and especially when you're using a watercolor paper, you're going to want to use a stamp platform too, because I mean, if you're using the hot press watercolor paper, there's really not any texture to it. It's quite smooth, but I prefer the cold press, and you don't always get the perfect image on the first pass just because of the texture of the paper. I'm just going to give that raccoon one more go, and we're done with that. Set this aside, and I will clean those stamps after. Let me just toss that over to the side there. And now we've got our scene ready to go, which doesn't look like much yet, so you have to use your imagination. And I'm not going to draw out ahead of time what I'm going to do. I'm just going to kind of go for it. Yes, they were, right? Progress. I need to clean off my palette here because I have colors on there from when we were away last week at the cottage and I was working on stuff. I won't say what, but some upcoming stuff that was exciting. I actually pretty much have my stuff done for the rest of the year, except for maybe a couple of odd things. Like I haven't signed up for the ATC card swap yet, but I need to do that. So if you missed Kim, instead of doing her coffee chat on Friday, had done it this morning. So make sure to hop into the group there. I mean, you're already here. So if you missed it this morning, maybe after you're done watching this video, go and check out that coffee chat for all of the new things going on. But there is an ATC swap that Kim has posted, and I believe it's like Christmas and winter theme, correct, Kim? So if you want to get in on that, make sure you, I think, comment on the post there and let her know. So I haven't done those yet, so I got to sign up for it first. Okie doke. So we're going to get to work here. Hopefully everything is bright enough. That's my light that's being all squawky there. I always try to be careful with this light because I feel like sometimes it just makes things too bright. I hate my lighting in this room. I really have to do something about it. So let's first get some pools of color mixed up. And so I think the first thing we'll do is we'll grab some water. I'm going to use a blue. I'll probably just use cerulean blue. I'm just going to kind of wet my paints a bit here. And I usually use a little bit of indigo in there as well. Let me see, where was that? I think this is it here. Yes, it is. So we'll wet the indigo a little bit because I just like to mix a bit of that in there as well. And I've just got to get my things of water a little closer here. Let's start up in this section here, and which you can't see right now. I can't always configure this to leave everything in the field of video here, just because if I do that, then it's kind of far away while I'm painting. Okay, let's just wash that paintbrush off. I am using a round 6. Nope, it's a round 8. I lied. A round 8, but you can use any brush you like. I do like the round, and honestly, I feel like I can paint everything I need to in this one here. If I have to adjust a little bit, I will. I've got my feed here so I can see. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do, you're not going to be able to see it very well because I am just going to paint the entire sky area with water. So I'm going to kind of form a bit of a slope it's not going to be even, because I'm picturing that there's some snow hills in the background here. So what I will do is kind of decide on that horizon line with my water. And I just realized something else I need. I really thought I was better prepared. One moment. I need some readers. There they are. I knew I had them out somewhere, but I put them in a stack of stuff. Sorry, because I have my contacts in. That's better. And so I need my readers here. Okay, so I'm going to just take some plain water because I want to do a wet into wet technique for the sky. So I'm just going to loosely brush in here this water, because when you're doing wet into wet, what that means is you're wetting your paint or paper first, and then you'll apply your paint, and that's going to give a nice smooth blend. So you will have times that you'll do wet into wet, and then times that you will want to go with your paint onto a dry surface. But anytime you're wanting a nice smooth soft blend of paints, you're going to want to go wet into wet. So I'm kind of tracing along. This is where that horizon line is there. So I'm just kind of painting it across here. We'll have it curve up a bit here so it looks like a little bit of a hill. And we'll do this as a daytime winter scene. So we'll have a nice bright blue sky with a little bit of clouds. Okay. So as I've said before, when I do this, I want my paper to be nicely saturated with water. I don't want pools of water sitting unevenly. Sorry, we have a family chat group on Facebook, and the kids are posting on it. Okay, so no pools of water, but you do want the paper to be nice and glossy, nice and saturated. You can see a bit of that sheen on there, but if I pick it up a little closer and kind of tilt it, you should be able to. I'm just waiting for the replay. I guess not at that angle. Maybe if I angle it down this way more. That's not even showing at all. There we go. A little bit with the light on it. So now I'm going to pick up a very watery mix of that blue. Okay, and I'm just going to start to drop it in here. And I'm not really being that particular with where I drop it in. I am going to do some trees. We'll see if we get, I don't know if I'll get this entire image done tonight, so you might have to see the finished card later, but we'll see how far we can get with this. So I'm just dropping in that blue. This is mostly just the cerulean blue here. Okay, like I said, nice watery mix of it. And I'm not even fully covering all the areas because it's gonna give the hint of some fluffy clouds there. I'm going to mix a little bit of that indigo in here. Colors that there. That's not what I wanted. And we'll just, whoops, that's a little too bright, isn't it? So we'll just water that down a little bit. And we'll just drop in a few hints of some darker blue. Not being fussy at all here, just a couple little spots, and because that's all wet, it's going to blend without any harsh edges. I'm going to bring this right up to the edge of my character. Now you'd want to be careful when you're painting your plain water on here that you don't go over your character lines, because otherwise that blue will spread in there. And I usually kind of think almost in a vignette way, like I do my darker shades a bit towards the edges. And we might play with some of these clouds a little bit as the paint starts to dry, just to give a little dimension. but I think that that's probably good. So I'm going to wash that brush off. Oh, thank you, Kim. Yes, it is about 40% off. So now is the time to get this fun set if you do not already have it. I'm actually, sorry, I fibbed. I'm going to put just a little bit more color just in this area here. So hop on over to the shop if you don't already have it. Al came home and talked your ear off for 15 minutes. Was it about work? I'm guessing. I probably should get my my heat gun out so that we can expedite the drying time here. One moment, please. I'm just going to grab that, which of course is buried. I rarely will use a dryer while I'm doing this, but for the interest of time, because a lot of times you can kind of bounce around your painting and work on areas that are not adjacent, but we're just going to give this a quick blast here, okay? Pardon the noise. Okay, I don't want it to be fully dry because I want to start to add in some trees here, and I should have mixed this up ahead of time. Undersea green is my favorite green, and I pretty much always use that. So I'm going to mix that in with a bit of blue there that we've already used, and I'm going to go in with a nice light mix here, and I'm just going to drop in some, I will flip my paper all around. I just want to give the hint of a tree line back here, so I'm not too worried yet about making like these full tree shapes, because as this dries, I got to be careful because I just introduced more water into an area that was drying, and I should have thought that out because I don't want any cauliflower blooms in here. They can be really nice for certain background techniques, but not so much for this. So I'm just thinking tree shape, so kind of that triangular shape here, and just doing a really watery mix to begin with. Nothing too structured. And then we'll do a small one in here, and we'll come in and we'll add some more to that. I'm leaving some little gaps where you'll see some of that blue. We'll come up into that cloud a little bit. Maybe we'll bring this one up just a little higher here. Okay, and then we'll do some over on this side as well. And just adding a bit of that blue in again. And this side got a little drier, so we're already getting a bit more definition than I had planned on. I kind of forgot when I went and hit that with the heat gun. So as you can see, this one is going to be a little bit more structured to start with. We will work with that. We'll go right up to that line of snow there. And maybe we'll just do one more in here. So I'm just kind of letting this dance around a bit. If you want to have like a looser grip on it, don't hold it down so close to the wow, the point of your brush here, the hairs on the brush. So I'm just letting it dance around a little bit to make that tree shape, letting some of the blue sky show in between the branches and kind of blending them together there. Now, so these ones will be a little bit more structured. There's not going to be much behind. These ones are going to look like there's a little bit more of almost like a forest behind them. Maybe some trees in the background there. So let's get, whoops, that was not the color I meant to pick up on my brush. So let's pick up a little bit more, like I said, the undersea green. I'm going to make a bigger puddle of it here. And I'm going to mix just a bit of blue into it. I like to do that for kind of a harmonious look. And let's start to, this is still quite wet over on this side actually, but I'm just adding a little bit more in here. I may dry this side a little bit more because these are going to be two very different effects in here. Yes, let's do that. Do a quick little blast on this side here. And so now we'll go in and like on a slightly drier paper here. How did I know? I just know. And we'll do some more structured branches here. So as you can see, there's not a whole lot of planning. I'm just putting the paint down. Watercolors work very well. They're pretty forgiving for doing backgrounds like this. And they don't take a ton of effort to get a nice effect here. So I'm just going to make sure to come right in over his ears. But I generally do like to put some of this down while it's still wet so that it just gives like a look of some background trees. But I dried it a little much on this side. So like I said, now it's just going to make it look like these are a little closer to us. So just, whew, my heat gun stinks, man. I don't enjoy that smell. Like I said, very rarely will work with a heat gun just because, you know, if this was just me and it's not a video where you guys would be bored to death watching paint dry, then I would just be working around my image. But that doesn't really work as well sometimes for the live video. And let's do another one here. Again, getting right up around his ears. Maybe one more here. And we'll come back in and add some deeper greens. In a little bit here once that dries a bit. So thicker paint consistency, so less water, more paint on your brush. And let's come in here and do a little bit of work on these trees. We might do a little bit of snow on these trees too, because if there's snow on the ground, then these trees will also have some snow on them. And then I'll show you what I do for that. I'll use my bleed-proof white on that. And we'll add like some shadows in underneath where the snow sits. So again, not filling everything in, just keeping in mind kind of a tree-like shape. Okie doke. If I had to wait for paint to dry, I end up walking away to do something else and never come back. All right. I think we can bounce back to these other trees now. Again, thicker paint consistency. Whoops, I did not mean to add that much blue. That was a boo-boo. So let's go back to my undersea green. And let's see this darn light. I've got a little bit of glare and then I can't see what I'm doing here. Okay. Just a little bit darker, not all over. Because like I said, I am going to come back in after with some bleed-proof white to make the snow on the branches, and we'll play up some of the shadows then. But while these are still damp. So watercolor is a lot of controlling the paint consistency on your brush. So how much paint, how much water is on your brush in relationship to how wet your paper is, how wet or dry. So let's just put a little bit more in here, and then I'm going to leave these trees. Actually, I fibbed, sorry. Just while this other side is wet still too, just a little bit more. As you can see, there's some gaps in these trees here too, so that you can see the sky behind. And then, like I said, I think we'll finish that after, once we get the white on there for the paint, or for the snow. I am going to dry this again here, just because I want to do the snow next. So let's give this a dry. Sorry about the noise. Okay. Let's see, how does that feel there? I think that'll be okay. All right, so for our snow, I think, maybe we'll use some Payne's Gray, which is, where's my Payne's Gray? Is that this? That is not this. Just bear with me for a moment. Is that my Payne's Gray? That is not. Why can I not locate that? That's my neutral tint. My Payne's Gray is up here, I think. I used to have all my stuff in a very specific spot. There's my Payne's Gray. So let me just throw that where I can reach a little better. Let's go. I'm going to go into this blue area here. And Payne's Gray is a very bluey gray, but we're going to use this for the snow. So I'm just graying this up. Get rid of some of that blue that was on there. And let's add some more gray in here. Okay, that will work. Okay, so here's where I want to plan some snow mounds. So I'm gonna kind of work the way that I did with the with doing the background here. Somehow I got green there. That's annoying. Oh well. I must have had it on my finger. So I'm gonna go in with wet paint, not wet paint. I lied. I'm going to go in with just a plain wet brush, clean water, and I'm going to imagine this guy here, he's standing on a little bit of a hill. So I'm going to bring a bit of water in here, and I don't want to make this even because I want it to look like there's like drifts of snow. So we're going to start with this, and I'm going to bring this right up to the tree line. And we'll have this sloping down a bit there. Everything very flowy. And we can add some other ones in as well. So let's come up to this fox area here. And then I'm going to pick up a very, very watered down mix of this Payne's Gray. That might even still be a little too blue. Let's add a bit more gray into it. And we'll just pick up, like I said, very watery mix. And we're going to drop it down like right along where I painted that water line. for that wet into wet blend. And then I can go a little bit more, and then we're going to work our way up with it, helping that to blend up into this area here. Am I still in the line? Yes, I am. I'm going to bring it over to where we stopped that water line. And we'll probably add a bit of like dry brushing in after as well, just for some more texture. But now that did get a little wet into that tail, but that's okay because this is a light enough color that it's not going to be a problem. I do want a bit more color in here. Okay, and if you wanted to, you could kind of tip your paper that way just to help that paint travel up where it's wet. Okay. Oops. And we'll just help this area a little bit too. I just want a tint of it, working up to where it would just like fade out into the white at the top of this snowdrift here. And if there's some gaps when it dries, that's okay, because we'll probably, like I said, dry brush a bit of paint there. Oh, thank you, Deb. That's very kind of you to say. I'm going to actually, I think, just continue this snowdrift here. So let's just make this kind of one big slope, and we're going to slant it down towards the corner of this paper here. So let's paint with our plain water around our fox. Just with plain water, which is why you can't really see what I'm doing. Okay. And let's throw in some of that Payne's Gray, and it's got a bit of cerulean and indigo in it from the sky mixture. I like to let my paints mix together on the palette because it makes it all kind of harmonious. Because they're all coming from, like, they've all got a bit of the same colors mixed in. I can see I'm getting a hard edge right here. I forgot to blend that up. Okay. Let's add just a little bit in behind him here. Help that blend out. And maybe just a touch in right along here as well. And I'm just dabbing, rinsing my brush off a little bit so that it's clean water mostly on the brush, so that I can help that to blend up like that. Okay, and so there we've got part of our snow. I may, after this is dry, just noticing I didn't really put anything in back there, I may add another hill back in here after it has dried. Like, just so that there's a little bit of a hill in there. I might. So let's hit that with a little bit of a dry. I want to be careful too. I'm just looking at the at the video there, the delay, and that looks terrible with my hand wiggling all around there. But what was I going to say? I need to make sure this is dry enough. So yeah, if I go in with another wash here to make another bit of a snow mound, that I'm not disturbing what's underneath there, because I quite like that blend. That's nice. No problem, Deb. Yep, you're very welcome. I think I might just do just a bit of a hint of a hill in here. So again, I'm going to go in, and I'm going to put this down lightly. So I'm going to imagine that this is just drifting a little bit in here. So I want to be careful that I'm not picking up the paint underneath. So I'm not scrubbing it in here. And by scrubbing, I mean rubbing that brush a bunch. I'm going to just drop in along that wet line there. Because if I scrub too hard, it's going to lift the paint that's underneath up, and that's not what I'm trying to do. I'm just going to help this to blend out a little bit here. I should be checking to make sure I'm in the frame. Okay, and then let's just drop just a bit more color in there. Okay, let's see how that looks when I flip it around. Maybe I'll just blend that out a little bit more. It just breaks it up a bit. I probably should have brought this up a little bit more, but that's okay. Let me just clean damp brush. I'm just going to lift a little bit of that up. Hopefully I like that because I'm kind of stuck with it now. I might just soften it a little bit. Clean damp brush. So by damp, like I've blotted it on the paper towel so it's not got a whole lot of moisture in it, and then I can pick up just a bit of what I put down there. And I think that I will carry this drift behind our little friend here. So if I imagine this coming up into this area here, I'm going to add that water in there, and then we'll pick up just a hint of that gray mixture and bring it in here as well. We may just, like I said, get one of the characters painted tonight. We shall see. Because I'd like to show you a bit on the trees as well, like I said, with the do some snow on one of the trees here. Okay, let's tackle this area here. So let me just see here. Maybe we'll bring this down here into a bit of a snow mound. So I'm dropping that color in just along the border of where I put the water. And then I'm gonna just, I forgot to wet the whole area, so that's okay. I'm just going to bring this up here. I may have to pause just for a moment because I'm going to message my daughter quick. She had asked me, she's got a wedding to go to this weekend, and she just needed help on the one little spot on her dress to fix something up, and I'd said to her to maybe come over around 8:30, but I might just change that to 9. Okay. All right. So now we've got kind of like this mound right here. You should just do it, Kim. Just do it. And let's add a little bit of blue down here as well. I'm just going to brush this right along that bottom. I put some water down there first. And then we'll just blend it up. With a clean damp brush. I got to be careful. This is wet here still. So I'm kind of leaving a gap there. I also need to be careful how long I'm looking down. My neck flared up a bit this afternoon, and as a result gave me a nice headache, which is always fun. And looking down is a little triggering right now with that. It just, my neck seizes up, and then I just suddenly get a bad headache. And it did it while Dean and I were out with some errands this afternoon. Okay, just adding a little bit of a shadow under him there. Pick up a little bit more neutral tint there. And we'll just, that's got some more blue in it than I had thought there. I'm just going to drop that in kind of as a shadow. So I guess my light's coming this way. I didn't really plan that out either. Okay. In which case, I really should have a bit of a shadow here as well. I'm going to wet this again here. Whoops, I got up into his tail a bit. Let's just... grab a bit more gray there. Just clean damp brush. I'm just going to pick a little bit of this up. We can play with those shadows a bit more after, but I just wanted to start to plot them, and I did get him onto his boots a little bit, so I'll have to do his boots a darker color. That's okay. Okay, so there is that. I think what we'll do as well here, I'm just going to get this wet up underneath the tree line here. I'm going to put a bit of a shadow in near the trees as well. So let's drop that right in there. Just picking up a little bit more of that Payne's Gray. I may have said neutral tint, I can't remember, but it is Payne's Gray that I'm using. Just because that blue is nice for the snow, that cool color. Those shadows out a bit there, and do the same over here. And imagine that's coming there for some shadows. Hopefully this is going to translate. Okay, I'm just picking up a little bit thicker paint to stick right up underneath the base of those trees. And just dragging it out a little bit. Okay, hopefully that's going to work there. Okay, so let's see. Maybe we will go right in. I'm just going to show you how I do these trees. I'm just going to message Ainsley quick though and tell her to come closer to 9. Okay, there we go. So Dr. P.H. Martin's Bleed Proof White. You could use gouache. You could use a white gel pen too, if you so wanted. Did she get that? She did. Okay. So I'm going to go right in. I'm just going to start to add some of that snow to the trees. I'm just going right in the cap of my P.H. Martin's Bleed Proof White. And we're just going to think of how it would hit some of these branches if the snow had fallen here. So I'm going to go ahead and just kind of dot it on in spots. Imagining that it was catching the edges and the tips of the branches. I don't think I'm going to splatter any snow on this just because it's a pretty blue sky here, so it's not really looking like it's actually snowing in this weather in this scene here. So these are just some nicely frosted trees. They're so pretty when they look like that. All right. So that's that tree done. And then we'll add some shading underneath the snow as well. So Dean and I were out this afternoon because we've been talking for years about wanting to replace the countertop in our kitchen. But then so we went to this one place just to get a quote, but then we fell down the rabbit hole because our kitchen is so tiny and there's not a whole lot of counter space, and we've really become the place where everybody, like at least for my side of the family, like we host all the big dinners here, and so then we're like, well, maybe we can kind of, you know, look at building some extra counter space in our kitchen, which then led to, oh, well, you know, would we, you know, just want to add a little bit of counter here? Do we want to redo our pantry cupboard, which is not very, it's just not designed well. It's deep, and so you have to like empty everything out to get to anything. And then, like I said, if we were going to add some more counter space, there's really only one place that we can add a counter space. So then we were like talking to this one company that Dean's done photography for, and so she might come up and do a quote for us, and now it's just become a much bigger discussion than what we had originally gone out for. So we don't know what we're going to do yet. The thing is, if we were just to replace the countertop that we have, and the other thing is we need to get a new oven as well. And so I was looking at getting a dual oven. So gosh, it's just like anything. Once you start talking about one thing with the home reno, even if it's just like a little one, like all these other things come up. And, but the thing is, the one company we went to, if we were just to get the existing countertop and sink done, we could have that done before Christmas time. But if we were looking to actually like invest in it and go with, like a little bit more construction and everything, then it wouldn't be till springtime. So I don't know what we're doing. So I don't know. But anyways, so yeah, we were out a lot longer than I had planned this afternoon. Because yeah, it's just the more you get talking, it's like, oh, we could do this and we could do that. Anyways, okay, we might as well do these trees too while we're at it. Like I said, I'm just imagining how the snow would fall on these branches. Excuse me for a minute. So sorry. Evergreens are always so pretty with all the snow. It's all freshly fallen and glistening in the sun. We don't have any evergreen trees in our yard. Okay, that one got a little extra snow covered there. We might as well hit them all while we got this bleed-proof white out. A little bit more right there. Okay, let's call that part done. So I'm gonna rinse my brush off there. And once that fully dries, we could come in and add like a little bit of shading to that. But what I am going to do in the meantime, I'm going to pick up some more of that undersea green and re-wet this area here. And I'm going to bring in some neutral tint into that. Not neutral tint. See, I knew I said it. Payne's Gray was what I meant to say. I often will use neutral tint, but I liked the Payne's Gray for the snow here. So I'm going to just mix up like a nice deep green here. And just right underneath where those mounds of snow are, I'm going to go in on dry paper And I'm just going to add a little bit of a drop shadow underneath the white. And I'm not worrying about being like it's not a perfect line. It's kind of jaggedy. If you go over a bit of the white, that's okay. You can add a little bit more texture in here if you want to in a couple spots. Okay, that's that one done. I don't want to cover all the green that's already down there. But like I said, just that hint of a shadow so that it's, again, emphasizing that the snow is sitting on top of the branches. I am leaning right into that picture. That's nice. I don't know why I'm showing up in that. Sorry, guys. Hopefully you're not getting my head in there. Was my head in there? Oh, Jennifer, how long is that kitchen reno taking you? Because, like, we haven't done anything major, like, for the kitchen. We did all of our flooring a year or two ago. But, like, we were asking, like, how long would it be out of commission? And, I mean, guys, we have a small kitchen. But she was saying that, you know, several weeks. Which, I guess, if it was done in the spring would be good, because then we can just, like, barbecue, because we wouldn't really have a functioning kitchen for a bit. But I just, yeah, I don't know. The thing is, if we're going to do it, it would be the time to, you know, do everything we would want to do in the kitchen. And just to make it a little bit more usable. And this place we were looking at, like I said, Dean's a like real estate and media content creator. So he works mostly for real estate agents, but he does sometimes do like promo videos for businesses and such. And this is a company that he's done some of their pictures. Like when we were there and in their showroom, they had pictures that he's taken for them up on the screen. And so we know, like, they've got great reputation and, like, they take care of everything. Versus, you know, if we were kind of more going to be doing it ourselves, it would be, like, trying to coordinate all purchases from different areas and businesses and, like, when we would have people come in to do these things. And so, and the thing is, she, like, if you have them come out, you know, and do, like, a consultation when they do all their measuring and such, like, she can suggest things that would work. And I don't need a big fancy kitchen by any means. But it would be nice to have it a little better design than it is now. And just like making the corner cupboards a little bit more accessible. And like I said, like do something with the dumb design of a pantry cupboard that we have. But it is quite an investment. So, and then there's, of course, having to figure out, like, because I'm a shift worker and it's not like we can just go, like, you know, 4 weeks solid on things. And that's if we were to do any demo at all, which I don't know that we would. But yeah, how long did they tell you? Or how long has it been going on? And I guess, like, for some people it's going to be a more major project, but okay. So what I can do later is if I want to add a little bit of shading into some of that, I mean, actually it's probably dry enough that if I go back into kind of that snowy mixture here, I could add, that's a little too dark because I want it to be quite light, but I could add just a little bit of texture into some of these clumps of snow, just so that they're not quite so stark and there's a little bit of variation. But being careful that I'm not putting too much moisture down here because I don't want to lift the white. I just want to add a little bit of detailing to it, just a hint here and there. we've been in this house for a long time too. We moved in 2008. We didn't think we'd be here this long, but I don't know. I don't know if we're going to move soon or if we're going to hold off. So we're just undecided. But we definitely, at the very least, need to replace our countertop because it is ugly. And I hate it. It drives me crazy looking at it. So, okay. There's a little bit of shading in there now. So, okay, done. Done with the background for now. And now we're going to work on it. Well, actually, maybe we'll come through and do a little bit of extra on some of that snow in the foreground. So I'm just getting more of that bleed-proof white. I guess that wasn't really on screen for you, sorry. And I'm just doing it right in the cap here. Okay. And I'm just getting some onto my paintbrush here. And we already had kind of a spot there where it was a little white. And I'm just going to bring a bit of a dry brush technique. I mean, the brush is still wet, but it's just damp. So I'm just kind of brushing a bit of this over in spots, and wherever this green transferred from, let's get rid of that. There we go. And I'm just gonna clean up this upper edge of the snow here. Sorry, that's off screen a little bit. I've just moved that. And just, like I said, just dry brushing a touch of it. Or damp brushing, I guess I could say too. Okay, and then we can bring a bit in here. I know we did that shadow there, but I'm just gonna bring that up a bit and blot a little bit of it off there. And if I hate it, we can always fix it after. It just gives a little bit of interesting texture. And you could do this like with a gouache if you don't have the bleed proof white, but I do like this product and I've hardly touched the bottle that I have. So it's going to last me a long time. Okay, let me just, that's what I'll also use when I splatter snow. All right. Let me just go in with a clean damp brush here. I'm just going to lift a little bit of what I put down on that shadow. Maybe just drop a little bit more into it. There we go. I keep going off screen, sorry. Is anybody still with me? We're going to get into doing the characters now. So let's do our little raccoon friend. So I'm gonna stick with that neutral tint. I'm gonna mix it into where there's some blue. Not neutral tint, I keep saying that. It's Payne's Gray. Payne's Gray that I'm using here. I'm just blending all that blue into it here. I'm just trying to think with the raccoon. He's usually got, like, we're going to do this as the mask here. So I'm just going to, what will I do first? I think I am going to do just a very watered down cover. I'm going to leave his belly a different color. So I'm going to sketch him with my paintbrush here. Little belly. And then I'm just going to do a wash, a light wash of this gray mixture. Is that on screen? Yes, it is. And go in and do his tail as well. Just painting that in. So this is going to be like my lighter undertone. We'll make it kind of fluffy as well after. I'm going to bring it into, like, these will be the darker black stripes. Just kind of making that a little uneven in spots there so that it's going to have like the hair from this different colored stripes kind of blending into each other. Again, we're just going with a light wash of this color. There's quite a bit of water versus paint on my brush. I'm starting off light, and then we'll build up values. Oh, I forgot his little legs. Okay, and then we'll get this arm here. We'll work on that snowball after. We're going to have to make sure it stays quite bright white so that it doesn't blend into the background too much there. Okay. Now so he's got his eyes here, and then this little rim here, which is his mask, which we're going to make darker. But I'm just, like I said, putting down that wash of color here first. Just a nice light gray everywhere. And you'll notice I didn't go in and wet this first, just because it's such a small area. I can work fast enough that I won't have any harsh lines here. I'm going to go right over that area that will be his mask as well. It's a little dark. Oops. But not over top of the pupil or the white of his eye there. Get up into his ear. Okay. I haven't done the inside of his ears yet. I'm going to go in with a bit of a darker mix here. Just with the tip of my paintbrush, I'm going to make him a little fluffy. So I'm bringing some little, I don't know if you'll be able to see, I'll show you closer after here. I'm just, instead of having that smooth line that was stamped, like the outer edge of the raccoon here, I'm just bringing little flicks of paint just beyond, and then bring some more up into this belly. I have a little bit at the bottom here. And I'm just adding a little bit of fur texture here. And I'm just going to do this in layers. Make his arm a little bit furry here. And he's got these little fingies, these little fingers wrapping around the snowball. We'll get those legs nice and dark there. And then adding, like I said, I'm just starting to build some texture. I'm doing the same thing along these stripes of the tail that I did along his, the edges of the raccoon here. Just bringing a couple flicks into these. Like I said, these will be the dark black, so I'll really have to build that up. Stripes, but that way it's not perfectly even, because I always like my animals to look a little fluffy. Same thing on this last one here, and we'll just give him a couple little floofs of his tail that just go beyond the stamped edge a little bit. Okay, and now, very nice, Kim, very nice. I haven't had any yet tonight, but I have some leftover stew that I did. Was that yesterday or the day before? I made a loaf of homemade bread too. Well, that's pretty much gone. And then we had some chicken before that. So I guess it was 2 nights ago, because we finished up our leftover chicken last night, and then I just didn't have time to heat any of the stew up before I had to pop on, which is why I snagged a little bit of that homemade bread before it was all gone, and ate a quick sandwich before I hopped on. So like I said, just adding some furry texture marks here. I'm going to do the same thing here with his little cheeks. Just bringing out a couple stray pieces of fur beyond the stamped edge. I'll do the same along this bottom cheek here. And I'm just gonna, I have to be careful that I don't lose his ears in the tree, because the ears are going to be a darker gray. So what I might need to do is strategically go back into these trees and like play up some of those mounds of snow so that we don't lose it here. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and plot out how I want to do his mask here. So I'm using the artist drawn lines here, but I'm just extending them a little bit. And I'll come along here too. Okay, there's one, and then just bring those out a little bit, and we'll add just a bit of texture lines in here with the fur. Right down to his nose there. And I'm imagining which way the fur would be growing on his face. I'm just adding I'm going to bring a little bit of fur over top of his scarf here too, so that it's not a perfectly solid line. Okay, a little hump for his nose there. Okay, now I am going to make an even thicker consistency with more of the Payne's Gray. And I may even actually, truthfully, add a bit of neutral tint here, just so that it's not as blue as the snow. So this will be, if you can see that, I've made this little, I'm just moving that down, sorry, a little puddle of an even darker gray here. And let's come in here and I'm going to start to plot out the darker stripes of his tail. I'm going to leave a few gaps here and there so that it's not solid. Okay, there's one. And this is where I had that kind of uneven border, whereas the lines that the artist drew, they were quite solid of a stripe. I just wanted to break it up a little bit. Okay, so we'll plot that in. I'm also going to use this on that mask around his eyes, now that we've plotted that out a little better. And I'm just extending that mask out a little bit so it's a little pointed. Same thing on this side. Okay, now I'm going to use a little, nah, not yet, I'm not, sorry, I fibbed. Okay, let's go ahead and get his little leggies in there. I'm going to go back in with more of the Payne's Gray mixture. Okay, and I'm just going to do just a little wash of that over top of what I've already done. By wash, I mean kind of a watered down glaze or wash of color, so that you still see a bit of that furry texture underneath. But I'm just adding a little bit more color to it, because I'm going to use this dark color to add some shadows in. I got to be careful, I don't want to smudge the mask area, but I do want to build this up a little bit here. Just gently glazing that so I'm not really disturbing the texture that I painted in earlier. Up into the tops of his ears a bit. There we go. Okay, now I'm going to go in with that darker color here, and I'm going to drop in a little shadow under his tail where it joins the body. Hello, Margie. Oh, thank you so much. How are you doing? You've got a group there still. I have a question. Did you make it till the 3 a.m. end of the ball game the other night. Was your party up that late? I did. I stayed up, and my husband was like, are we going to turn this off? And I was like, well, no, I'm committed to it now. I got to see the end of it. So I'm just adding in just a few hints of texture again, a little bit of shading. A few texture marks of fur. Down here, I'm gonna add a few more of these little flicks. I probably should have done his belly first, but that's okay. He made it up till 3 a.m. So my next question was, what time was everybody up at the next morning? And I watched the episode of Celebrity Traders last night. There's another one on tonight, right? I'm going to have to do that after here. I was missing everybody, though, because it was so much fun watching. And I'm not going to say anything in case nobody's watched last night's episode, and I don't want to give anything away. But, oh my gosh, we had so much fun, like all laughing at it together last week and cheering. I missed having everybody together to watch it, and it was fun. Going to add a few strokes through here. Add a little bit more in at the sides of the face. Now, Margie, are they already baseball fans as well, or did you convince them that they had to watch? There's just too much on TV. I'm not used to having so many things on at the same time that I'm trying to keep track of. And there's Traders and Amazing Race and Survivor and baseball. And the other night I caught a little bit of the Leafs game. I missed it last night. I don't think they won last night, though. I used to have so many shows I used to watch way back when. But now, like I said, there's not too many like weekly things that I'm committed to. But yeah, they just all seem to be on at the same time right now. Pick up more of that neutral tint again. And just go back into those stripes. And that mask. Just outline the ears a little bit here. And do a couple little tufts of hair up into the ears. I think I'll maybe do a pinkish sort of color inside of them. Yeah, I've only watched one of The Amazing Race so far. I need to really catch up on that. But excuse me, sorry. Bear fans. Oh, so that's fun for you, eh? Okay. I'm just planning here for what's wet still. Just going to go over one more time just with a light gray here, just to soften that a little bit. Okay, let's, I shouldn't have used all my blue, but I'm going to go back in with, this is off screen for you, sorry, but I'm mixing up just a bit of blue again a little bit of indigo, a little bit of cerulean. And I'm going to go ahead and paint the irises in, and then I will go in afterwards to add the dark pupil and highlight. But we're gonna do those pupils first. And I have to do a little bit of shading with this snowball here as well. So I think what I'll do is just dry brush in. So I put a little bit of the gray mixture in, the Payne's Gray, and I'm just going to go in with a little bit of water just to soften that up. And I'm going to go right into my bleed proof white again. And because I really want this to pop against the dark background here, I'm going to add some dabs of the bleed proof white to the snowball here. And then pick up just a little bit more of that shadow shade, that Payne's Gray. And while this snowball is wet, just kind of dab it in and model it a little bit. So it's got a little bit of texture, but it's adding this bleed proof white helps it to pop against the shadows that we've got behind it. And just to emphasize it even a little bit more, and I'm going to go into my green for the tree, mix a little bit of that neutral tint and Payne's Gray color, and I'm just going to come in behind the snowball here and just emphasize that green behind it a little bit, just so I've got a little bit more separation. I think you can definitely see that he's got a ball in his hand here. All right. And maybe while I've got out that bleed proof white, how I was saying, like, we're kind of losing like the ears of the little raccoon here, I might just go in and add a little bit more snow right behind him. Just again, so we're not losing him in that dark background of the trees. And then I will go in and add some shading in there as well. A little bit more green in a couple spots just to break that up a little bit, because now it's looking a little too solid. Maybe a little bit right here. Maybe we'll add a little bit of green just peeking out down here. Okay, that should do. Let's see here. I'm going to paint the inside of his mouth, maybe. I'm actually going to go along here because this face is dry. I'm just going to make this a little bit more wet so that it'll flow better. I'm going to go ahead and paint in his mouth. So I'm probably leaning right into the picture here. This is when it's handy to have a brush that comes to a nice sharp point. I'm just going to flip this here for a second. And we'll go ahead and paint the bottom part of his mouth too. I've got to mix up a pink for his little tongue, but we can paint in behind his tongue. Okay. And hello, Carrie. I am well. How are you doing? Good to see, well, hear you, see you, talk to you. I'm going to do a black nose as well. And I'll add a highlight to it after it dries. If your round brush doesn't quite come to a nice, sharp, tiny point, you can always use a liner brush or a rigger, it's also called. I think I'm going to go ahead right now and add a dot for his pupils because those irises are now dry. I'm using a pretty thick mixture here. There we go. No worries, Margie. It was really good to see you for a little bit tonight. I would love to see it when you try it out. I'm going to go in and what color am I going to use? I'm going to use Deep Scarlet, I think, to make up a little... No, never mind. Don't like that. That's not right. What color do I want to use for his tongue? Let me just see here. Quin Rose, is that too? Yeah, that'll work. We'll do just a little Quin Rose for his tongue. Any pink or red that you have will do. There we go. It's coming to life now. Maybe we'll use, I'm going to put a little bit of gray into it, but maybe we'll use just a little of that mixture for inside of his ears as well. And I'm just going to dry brush them in. Right, we'll pick up a little bit of color here. Okay. I'm going to actually go back to pick up a little bit of my gray color, very, very watered down. And I just want to add a little bit of shading in. Whoops, that's still got some pink on it. That won't do. Get off of there. A little bit of that gray color. Just add a little bit of shading to the eyes, just a touch. And then I'm going to pick up a pretty thick consistency right on the tip of my paintbrush and just add a little highlight to his eye. It's a pretty tiny image, so trying to get these highlights even. Might have to do a little playing because that's looking like he's cross-eyed. Thank you, Michelle. Let me see. How do I want to fix that up? I think when it dries, I might just have to fix my pupil up a little bit. All right, so I've got to figure out. A color for his belly. I think I'm going to go in to my what's it called? Buff titanium. Pick up a little bit of that and add a little bit of the gray into it. Good, good. Okay, and then we'll just put a little bit of texture down. Just some fur-like strokes. A little darker underneath that scarf. And then we'll put like a wash over that. I think the fox you shall have to see at a future date because it is already almost 20 to 9. But as you can see, we've got a lot of it done though. I am going to go in just with a clean damp brush here, and I just want to see if I can soften these cheeks a little bit. Just to soften out some of those fur strokes that I put in, just a little. That's better. So they're still there, they're just not quite as obvious. Okay, and pick up a little bit more buff titanium. And we'll just put a little wash over top of this belly here. Okay, all right. Now, excuse me. I am just trying to figure out. I did go a little darker with his mask than I'd meant to. I lost some of the texture that I was going to keep in. So whether or not I go in like with a colored pencil later to add just a few strokes back in there, I don't know. I'll have to decide. His boots. Let's see. I'm not going to be going with any colored paper like pattern paper because this is the size of my base of my card, basically just with a single matting layer. So I'm kind of open to colors. I'm kind of thinking, so if I have used the Quin Rose on his scarf. I know this was the buff titanium in here, but like I said, I do like a little bit of mixing to happen with my colors so that they all go together. And the nice thing about using that buff titanium is you can kind of get a bit of a pastel kind of color here. Because I'm thinking that what I might go with, do we want to do pink or I might do like purple? What do you think? If I pick up a little bit of what would the cerulean end up looking like in here, what kind of give us a lavender sort of color. That's nice. So this is the blue that I used in the sky. What do you think? Do you like that? Do we go with that? Yay, nay? What did the people say? The people say nothing. Yes or a pink? What do you think? I saw an angry face. What? Who's angry at me? Is that because you don't like the purple? Did I lose everybody? Is everybody gone? Purple. Okay, let's go with the purple then. I'm going to go ahead and, because this is a tiny little scarf here on him. So I'm just going to go right in. And we'll just paint this on. I'm not doing a layer of water underneath here. Okay, so we'll get that purple in there. And then let's pick up a little bit of neutral tint. And I'm going to just drop in a little bit of shadow underneath his chin here. Chinny chin chin. Okay. I don't want that shadow to go too far though, because I don't want it to muddy up the purple. Just add a little bit more purple there. And then when that's dry, I might come in just to add a little bit of texture with the paintbrush. Now, might as well do purple boots on him too. What do you think? Coordinate his outfit here. Okay, pick up just a little bit there, and then come in with a bit of that neutral tint, just maybe on the bottoms of the boots, just give a bit of shadow there at the bottom. And I might just come in and just add a couple little stripes. That's still a little wet, so I'm gonna have to wait for that. Let's give him a little hit with the dryer here. Okay, purple didn't stay that vibrant. What would happen if I have a quinacridone purple, I believe. Let me just see here. That's not it. Where is it? Hold on a second. I'm sure that that was it. Nope, that's amethyst genuine. Where's my... Oh, there it is. Hold on a second. Maybe I'll just see what will happen. What if I add a little bit of a brighter purple in there? Add a little bit more of the Quin Rose. That's kind of nice. Let's go back in because I just feel like the purple's not really translating. There we go. That's a little better, I think. Make sure that that purple gets worked right up in between those hairs that we painted down onto his chin. And then let's dry that again. There we go, and I'm going to pick up some of that neutral tint and mix up a darker purple. I really like neutral tint for shadows. It does exactly what it says and neutralizes. Make it look like there's like little soles on the boots there. And then I'm just going to add, I think, a couple of stripes to his scarf here. Just for a little bit of texture. Okay, and I think that's him pretty much done. I'm going to see if I can't fix that eye up a little bit here. Just to make that pupil just a little bit bigger. I didn't quite get the highlights in the same spot. So I'll go back in after those dry, just to fix up the highlight in the eyes there a bit. Oh, I need a highlight on his nose. I need a highlight on his nose. I'm just going to pick up a little bit of that bleed-proof white again. There we go. It's like I just can't get that to take on the eye there. There we go. And I think if I can just get just a bit of that neutral tint back on here again. And I just need that pupil to go a little higher up on this side. There, that's better. Oh, thank you, Michelle. That's very kind of you to say. I think that we are going to leave that as is for now. I will probably play with it a little bit. Just softening this up a little bit with some water here. Like I said, I may have to go in with a colored pencil and just add a little bit of texture back into the mask around his eyes, because I kind of lost it there. But I think he's pretty cute. I'm just playing a little bit here with adding a little bit more to those fingers and his thumb. There. What do you say? Now I feel like that purple got a little dark, but I can maybe add, if I add a little bit of the, no, I'm just going to leave it because otherwise it's going to muddy up more. But I wonder if I go in with a clean, damp brush. I just felt like it wasn't very, it didn't have much oomph. I'm just putting a little bit of water down on it, and I'm going to take a paper towel, a dry spot of a paper towel here, and I'm just going to see if I dab it there. That lifted a highlight. So I put a little bit of water down on the purple, and then just use that paper towel just to dab it and lift just a little bit. There. And I think I'm going to do the same with the toe of the boots. Just to lift a little bit out. And I think we'll call him done. And like I said, I will finish this card up. But there's no, I mean, we'd be here for forever, but that's my own fault for stamping 2 characters out. So, how did everybody do? Did you guys paint along? Did you watch along? Did you try it later? Do you have this stamp set? Are you going to go get this stamp set? I'm going to zoom out just a little bit. I always go the wrong way. Oh, look at that. I didn't. There we go. I'll bring him up a little closer, though, just so that you can see what he looks like there. All right. There. That gives a better look there. I got a little bit of warping on my paper, which is fine. That happens with watercolor unless you've got it secured down. But I'm going to just bring, oh, look at that. Last time I painted this guy, I made a little, or this set, I made a little mask for the birdie. I think because I was layering them on top of each other. So just to recap here, we used Snowball Fight, which is 40% off in the shop currently. And I think, just one sec, I gotta just adjust this a little bit. This light is glaring. I'll zoom out a little bit more. I'm gonna get all my junk out of the way here. And maybe I will flip-flop this so we're not catching quite as much of a glare there. All right, so Snowball Fight we used the Totally Taupe ink for no lines painting tonight, or coloring. And we painted, or we've got the little fox painted, we've got the little raccoon, and all done with watercolors. Oh, you're very welcome, Michelle. Yeah, go give it a try. I'd love to see what you do. So pop it into the group. Let us all see it. It's fun to share what we all create with that. Once this is done, I will put it on a card base. I'll probably mat it like with blue or something, and then I'll post it. You'll be able to see it a little better then. But not too many products used tonight. We didn't need to use any stencils because we painted our own background, but we do have lots of great stencils to check out in the shop there. So again, this is Snowball Fight, right? Oh my gosh, am I blanking? Snowball Fight, yeah. Currently 40% off in the shop, so make sure to snag it. I thank you very much for joining in for Throwback Thursday tonight. As a reminder, Kim was on this morning for the coffee chat, which is normally on Friday. So make sure you're not tuning in tomorrow to see her. That video is in there from this morning, and that will update you on all the things from our upcoming, I think last time I checked, there were 2 spots left for the winter retreat. That may have changed, but the last I saw on her post in the Facebook group, we had 2 spots left. That's a virtual retreat. We would love to have you join us for that. Kim's put together a fantastic package of papers and accessories that will coordinate with the amazing stamp sets that are in that. I know that in the Crafty Club group, she also had a video in there. We are also in the midst of trying to plan the first in a long time in-person retreat that will be in the springtime. So look in the group and you'll find a post for that, and make sure that you comment there, because the people who comment, unless I'm mistaken, Kim's going to offer spots to them first. I think March is when we're thinking of that. It will be in London, Ontario, and she's got details on that there, but there was a little bit more discussion about it this morning in coffee chat as well. Every Thursday, one of us pops onto the group. I'm not sure who's on next week, but I do know that Kim has it all posted in a post here in the friends group, and you can check out what the upcoming sets are that are going to be used and snag them when Kim puts them on sale. So like I said, currently this one's on sale. Grab it while you can. Thank you so much for joining. I hope you guys have a wonderful evening, a wonderful weekend. Go Blue Jays. Let's bring home the World Series. I didn't really think I'd be saying that. Gosh, I haven't watched baseball since the last time they won in the 90s. So, but yeah, it was a lot of fun with you guys tonight. And make sure you post what you do, and take care. Bye.